The first season of Sword Art Online Fractured Daydream is getting closer to its end, and I'm sure many people that played at launch or even during the beta are wondering what direction the game will take based on the feedback it's received during Season 1. It was recently announced that DLC 3 and 4 are currently in development, and new gameplay was teased for the upcoming playable characters Pitohui and Fuka, who will be added to the game in Season 2 when it launches on January the 9th, 2025. But I wanted to learn more about what the Fractured Daydream development team learned based on Season 1 of the game, and how they plan to improve things in the future. So I reached out to the development team and they were willing to answer a lot of questions about Fractured Daydream and offered a few teasers for things we should expect in upcoming seasons. These questions are in no particular order, but there were a few questions that the team weren't able to answer at this time for various reasons. I won't be going over all of the questions they couldn't respond to, but I will be showing the ones that they have answered indirectly. And here's the first one of those questions. Previous games in the series have a demo version that carries data over into the full game. Are there any plans to create a multiplayer demo or a free multiplayer only version of Fractured Daydream to introduce new players to the game? At the time of questioning, they were unwilling to respond, but there was actually a valid reason for this. A demo version of the game was already in the works, and it's been released on all existing platforms apart from the Nintendo Switch, but the Switch version is expected to get its own demo at a later date. I assumed the game would get some kind of free-to-play or at the very least a demo version, since it's something some of the previous games in the series have had. The demo version that's available for Fractured Daydream seems like it has similar content to one of the previous betas, which has 9 playable characters and provides access to a small selection of boss raids and co-op quests, with weapons and accessory drops that can be carried over into the full game. So if you want to give the game a try, there's now an easy way for you to do it. The next question that was asked was, lower ranked players have been having a hard time finding full groups, depending on the game mode and server. The aid request system is there to help in situations like this, but it's not something that people can choose to join at any time. Are there any plans to introduce a quick play system to let people queue for any available quest and receive rewards that are appropriate to their rank? We are considering expanding the rescue system in the future to include a system like Quick Match that allows users to participate immediately. Our first change has been applied within the November 21st update. You can now obtain call and player rank experience points for rescues that match your player rank. We think this will help to attract a certain number of players to even low rank quests. The aid request system is helpful for finding players that can fill party slots for groups that are in progress. Currently, it's an automatic system that alerts players in the lobby of one random open party at a time, but it's not something that you can choose to join freely. So it's nice to hear that steps are being taken to make playing with lower level players easier and more beneficial. The next question was more focused on content distribution, but it also had a response that touched on rescue requests. Here's what was said. I've reached player rank 100, but the rank cap feels really high for the amount of content currently available in the game, and most of the multiplayer raids are reserved for players over rank 85. I assume the current distribution of content helps to funnel the player base into specific quests to help with matchmaking times. Moving into the future, will you consider adding more content variety and raids for people at lower ranks too? Yes, we are considering adding content to the lower tiers in the future. Furthermore, we are also planning to make changes so that when you participate in a rescue request, your player rank experience points will be based on your own player rank, rather than on the quest. This will make it easier to participate in more content, as you'll be able to choose to do low rank quests as well as specific quests. In the November 21st update, they also added World Tier 2 boss raids to the daily rotation. Previously, only a single boss was available in this world tier, but based on what they've said, hopefully lower ranked players will have more content variety to choose from in the future. This leads on to my next question that relates to characters' equipment and their viability long term. Here's what was asked. Finding equipment and making character builds is where I have a lot of fun with the game, but upgrading and keeping equipment prior to rank 90 didn't feel worthwhile since they were quickly replaced. Are there any plans to make equipment feel more meaningful at lower ranks? We are aware of the opinion that it's difficult to obtain meaningful equipment unless you are close to rank 100. We are considering adding a function that will allow you to raise weapon ranks in the future. Although we can't give details yet, we recommend that you keep equipment with good special effects even if they are a low rank, without dismantling them. Recently, it was announced that we'll be able to raise the rank of our epic or legendary equipment using the item rank up system. In order to do this, we'll need to sacrifice one piece of equipment of equal or higher rarity than the equipment you want to upgrade, and consume an item called Upgrade Material Z. Your equipment of choice would then be upgraded to the same rank as the equipment that was sacrificed. So once Season 2 begins, we'll be able to upgrade our favorite pieces of equipment and keep them relevant for a longer period of time. This answer ties into another question that I asked, and that was, players become attached to their builds and character progress, but when level caps increase, it can feel like progress is reset. Are there any plans to increase the level cap anytime soon? We are looking into raising the maximum player rank. If we do, we would also like to consider adding a function that would allow players to increase the item rank of their equipment so they would not have to start from scratch. The player rank cap is expected to increase to 130 in Season 2. It's always a worry that your equipment and previous progress will be invalidated when level caps increase in games like these. Thankfully, the item rank up system will help us carry our equipment with us as our levels increase. There's always the chance that older equipment can be phased out by newer equipment that gets released with better passive skills and base stats, but we may not need to worry about that for now. I'm still not sure how we'll obtain the Upgrade Material Z item that's consumed while upgrading ranks, but we will receive 10 in our mailbox at the start of Season 2, so we'll at least have a few to experiment with. The next question touches on something that's been a bit of a hot topic since beta, and that's character movement speed. Here's what was said. Different characters have different movement speeds, which encourages players to use various methods like jumping or dashing in order to keep up. Was there a reason why this choice was made, when most of the objectives encourage staying together as a group? Because there are a lot of playable characters in this game, we decided to give each character a unique movement speed as part of their characterization. For example, if the tank role character could move around nimbly, it would be no different from a fighter role, so we lowered its movement speed and evasion performance, and increased its HP and guard performance. On the other hand, the rogue characters have increased mobility with faster movement speed and double jumps, but their HP is set lower. As a result, there may be some variation in group actions, but since all characters have a certain level of combat power and it takes time to complete missions, the design is made so that even characters that fall behind can catch up. Even though it seems like the variation in movement speed is by design, according to the Season 2 patch notes, adjustments are being made to the characters that currently have slower movement speeds. Once Season 2 begins, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Lisbeth, Klein, Agil, Alice, Heathcliff, and Yui will now have increased movement speeds. I'm not sure how much of a movement speed boost this will be, but hopefully they'll have an easier time keeping up with the rest of the party. The next question was related to upcoming content. Here's what was asked. Apart from new characters, what kind of content should players expect to see each season? A bit of a spoiler for Season 2, we'll be looking at passive skills for new characters, new equipment, store items, and various other content, so please look forward to it. Recently, a few additional details were added about the content we should expect to see in Season 2. Along with the item rank up system and the new characters Pito Hui, M, and the recently announced Fuka, there should be 3 additional stories added. Fatal Scythe and Dorsal the Chaos Drake Origin will be added to free roam, which is a bit of a surprise since I would have expected those to be raid bosses. The maximum player rank limit will be increased to 130, which likely means we should be able to find and upgrade our equipment to that rank too. World Tier 4 will be added to the game, which will hopefully add new quests. A new extreme quest featuring SBC Trommel Zwei will be added. And there will also be various character balance adjustments, some of which have already been listed on the game's website. For the next question, I wanted to learn more about one of the other equipment enhancement systems, and if there were any planned changes. Here's what was said. Many lower level effect spheres don't seem to have much of a purpose currently. Would you consider adding a system that lets players merge lower level effect spheres to raise their level? We cannot promise anything for this, but we are looking into possibilities of implementing a system for strengthening the effect sphere. Effect spheres are equipment bonuses that can be transferred to other pieces of equipment. There can be multiple tiers of the same bonus, and it can be very rare to find the highest level of an upgrade possible, since the ones you get are random. So it's nice that they're looking into systems to put more control into the hands of players when it comes to upgrading their equipment. The next question that I asked also relates to how random the acquisition of equipment is. Here's what was said. Obtaining equipment is currently all based on chance or RNG. Are there any plans to introduce a system that lets people work towards attaining guaranteed equipment, cosmetics, or effect spheres? We are currently thinking of alternative functions that do not completely leave the acquisition of equipment to random chance. A clear goal that players can realistically work towards for their equipment is something this game needs. It's possible to do specific quests that give you a higher chance of attaining certain things that you want, but currently there's no guarantee that you'll actually get it. It's all left to chance. I'm not sure how they plan to implement this alternative, but hopefully it will let people gradually work towards a guaranteed goal, even if it takes a bit of time to get there. The next question I asked was related to player save data, since in a few of the past games there were different ways that players could preserve their saves. Here's what was said. Player save data is precious to people. Are there any plans to introduce optional server-side saves in Fractured Daydream to lower the risk of data loss? There are two types of save data saved locally and data saved on the server. Data saved locally is mainly data that increases or decreases in single player mode and includes equipment of rarity 1 and below, skins obtained in quests, player rank, character rank, passive skills, etc. On the other hand, the data held on the server includes equipment of rarity epic or higher, skins that can be obtained in trials or the store, trial progress, charms, SAO tickets, etc. As for the data stored on the server, even if your save data is corrupted locally, you will be able to restore it if you use the same platform ID. Although there are currently no plans to store all of the save data on the server, each platform has a cloud backup service, so we hope you will make use of that. This was actually interesting information that I assumed but couldn't find any confirmation on, so I'm glad that they elaborated on the details. Using cloud backup when you have it available is a good choice so you don't lose data, but it's nice to see that there are some safeguards in place for our data. Based on what was said, it may still be possible to lose character and player ranks if you lose your local save data, but at least your valuable equipment should be safe. Since it's something that a lot of people have asked, I wanted to find out if there was a way for players to get in contact with the team to report bugs, issues, or to send feedback. Here's what was said. There are currently ways for players to report other players in-game for bad behavior, but are there currently any ways for players to submit feedback for bugs or issues they may be having? Please report these on the official Bandai Namco website of the region you live in. On the official Bandai Namco sites, there should be a support section that has areas for specific games and a way for you to get in touch with the support team. Apart from the dedicated feedback forms that are announced on social media, this will be the best way to get in touch with the team. The next few questions were ones that the team couldn't respond to directly at the time, but have followed up indirectly. The first one of those was, information about Fractured Daydream is spread across various locations. The game already contains a dedicated section for event information, but it would also be helpful to have a section that shares current news and information like patch notes and announcements. Is this something you would consider? The team was unable to answer this question at the time, but they have now begun using the mailbox system and the event information page to alert players of worthwhile information. The announcements may not contain the full detailed information about the topic, but they do point players in the direction of where they can find out all of the details, which is a big help. The next question was, creating builds for characters is an important aspect of Fractured Daydream, and having detailed information in-game about character stats and abilities has become the norm in online RPGs. Are there any plans to let players know the percentages and multipliers on passive skills, basic skills, and advanced skills so they can accurately build their characters? The team was also unable to answer this question at the time, but it does seem like in the recent patch notes, they've started to be more open with the values that passives and skills have. so hopefully once Season 2 begins we'll have more information to work with. The final few questions were submitted by Jelly. The Sword Art Online team weren't able to respond to all of them at this time, but here are the ones that they were able to answer. The game is pretty dry in content once you get over the initial progression of ranking up. It seems like there's just nothing meaningful to do past a certain point. What is the direction going forward? We adjusted content for raid bosses on tier 2 that changes daily in the November 21st update. And we are also considering adding quests for this season change. Please look forward for more details to come. And the next question was referring to when the extreme quests were first implemented, and it said, the recently released extreme boss raid has poor drop rates and does not properly reward participants according to the amount of effort they put in. Was it planned for the extreme boss raids to be completely optional content? And if so, will future hard content follow this trend? With the extreme boss raids held in November, we also reviewed the rate at which players could obtain skins, as well as the experience values for player rank and character rank. We have also adjusted the rarity of rewards as necessary, while monitoring user responses. Thank you for the questions and your continued support for Sword Art Online Fractured Daydream. Fractured Daydream is in a bit of an uphill battle. It had a fairly strong start, but the lack of content in Season 1 made it hard for them to retain that player base. The style of game that Fractured Daydream is competes with free-to-play games that are easily accessible and run on a 6-week patch cycle, compared to the 3-month gaps between seasons that we currently have in Fractured Daydream. Hopefully Season 2 can set the pace for future updates and show people how the team plans to handle the game long term. Fractured Daydream Season 2 will be released on all platforms on January 9th, 2025. A demo is available on all existing platforms, so if you want to try the game out to see what it's like, then give it a download. And if you want to see an overview of what Season 1 was like, I previously made a video going over all of the content that was available. I'll be making some new videos very soon, so don't forget to subscribe to be the first to know when those videos are available. But until I make those videos, here's another that you might find interesting.